It's a stressful situation for any police officer, making a split-second decision to keep a suspect and the public safe at the same time. Bend police officers recently found themselves in such a situation. Take a look at how they handled it to avoid tragic consequences.
The increase in the number of individuals in mental crisis the police have encountered have caused us to have to redefine on how we interact with people in crisis. We at Bend PD are out on the cutting edge of that. We're way ahead of the majority of the people in our profession. The encounter like you observed in Orchard Park over the last couple of weeks is a prime example of how we've redefined.
The training that we provide our officers today is a little different than it has been in the past. We've seen such an increase in people that we are dealing with that are in a state of crisis that our training has had to evolve to that level as well.
And while we're seeing an increase in patients who are escalated in crisis, we're also seeing that these patients who used to come into us very violent are now coming to us in a better state because of the skills that our officers have learned in the community to help those people in crisis out in the community.
Officer Vole, Officer McDonnell, and Officer Wiles were presented with a very complex incident. And they utilized the skills that they had been taught to try to de-escalate the situation. They tried giving direct commands to the individual. He didn't respond necessarily, and they tried to utilize de-escalation skill techniques to try to get the person out of a state of crisis so they could actually communicate with that person and help resolve that person and get him into the services that he needs.
On this particular day when the subject drew the knife, he pointed the knife at myself and two other officers and made individual threats to kill each one of us, even calling two of us out by our names. Our response, and again trying to defuse the situation as much as we could, address him. We did our best to remain calm in a very stressful situation and tried to de-escalate him, not only providing orders for him to drop the knife and to comply, but also doing what we could to use other tactics as well, asking him, reassuring him that, you know, he wouldn't be harmed.
Chris, drop the knife, Chris. Chris, stop. Just drop the knife, Chris. Stop cutting yourself, Chris. Chris, stop.
The officers were in a very complex situation. It was very dynamic, and it was in a community park, which accounts for a very strong sense of danger for those that we're trying to protect.
It wasn't until we deployed some of our less lethal options that he finally released the knife and we were able to take him into custody. He immediately began sobbing, apologizing, and thanked us for not killing him.
People who have been in contact with our officers for 10, 20 years, who are coming forward now and saying, this is amazing. I had this amazing response to the police. They were so helpful. I felt heard. And they're ending situations which could have possibly ended tragically in a calm state and getting that person the help that they need.
We in law enforcement are very familiar with the term suicide by cop. We come into that situation on, I won't say a regular basis, but frequently enough that we train for it, we prepare for it. With our training in less lethal options, our training in mental health crisis, we attempt to try to defuse the situation, take somebody into custody, get them hopefully the help that they need, all while keeping ourselves, the community, and the individual safe.
Working with the officers and seeing them through all the trainings that we've done, it's amazing to see the response, how much they learn from this, how much they want this. Officers, they want to go out there and help people. They don't want to end up in a situation where they end up harming someone else or themselves. So they learn these tools, they learn these skills, and they go out and they use them on a daily basis. And we really have seen the change in response to our people with mental illness and crisis.
As we've seen in this incident, we've invested heavily in our officers, providing them with the tools and training they need to deal with folks in mental health crisis. We've seen such an increased number in that. And there's the officers to consider. No officer wants to take a life. And like in this instance, they've been provided with the opportunity to actually save a life with someone that's in crisis. That probably wouldn't have happened in a lot of other jurisdictions in our nation.